Cancer Network back probably 3 years ago. We had a friend, and she had pancreatic cancer, and this is a walk that they have, and so she was able to walk, so we walked with her. The next year she passed away, but we've been sort of somewhat active in the Pancreatic Cancer Network because my wife's husband, my wife's father had passed from pancreatic cancer years ago, and so, and then we have a neighbor that just recently passed from pancreatic cancer. So I met Georgina there, and so I asked Georgina if she could come and speak, and then she brought Diane. So I'd like to introduce you to Diane Borrison. Georgina Van Horn.
Thank you so much, Mike. So appreciate your graciousness in inviting us. I'm introducing why I'm here, just quickly. My dad and my cousin passed away from pancreatic cancer, so I honor their memory by my work, but I'm introducing Diane Borrison, who was trying to think of the highlights of her many. One thing, she has a business background, but one of the main things, of course, we honor her for is that she's a 10-year survivor of pancreatic cancer. And she works, the word is relentless, to help change the course of this terrible cancer. She's our advocacy coordinator, which means she's in contact with our representatives all up and down California to Congress to keep that funding and to increase the funding for pancreatic cancer, but all our cancers, to the National Health Institute. So she's in contact, has so many ways to get to them, helps us get to them, and is really an advocate for getting us to Washington also, because every year the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network has hundreds of volunteers there pleading for funding for our National Cancer Institute, because it's the federal funding that's so important for research. So, Diane, to you.
Thank you so much. I want to start by saying how grateful we are to have this opportunity to speak to you and spread the word about this cancer. And I am especially happy that I can be here because, as you probably know, most people who are with my diagnosis don't survive. And so I am fortunate in many ways, but I'm also the vision of hope, because 10 years of survival is really rather rare. So thank you so much. Pancreatic cancer is a disease that robs us of our best and our brightest, including Steve Jobs, Patrick Swayze, Luciana Pavarotti, and so many more. In fact, just taken from an article by Ann Killian in the Chronicle this week, the Golden State, I'm quoting, the Golden State Warriors organization is in mourning after news that Carol Fitzgerald, the wife of broadcaster Bob Fitzgerald, lost her lengthy battle with pancreatic cancer on Tuesday. The sadness of our organization is profound, Coach Steve Kerr said. Now, Carol's passing affects us personally in the Silicon Valley affiliate, because her family was one of the sponsors of our Purple Stripe Silicon Valley just last year. Pancreatic cancer is one of the very deadliest cancers. In 2016, it moved from the fourth leading cause of cancer-related death in the United States to the third, surpassing breast cancer. It's the 11th most commonly diagnosed cancer in men and the 9th in women. It's estimated that more than 53,000 Americans will be diagnosed with this disease this year, and almost 42,000 will die. And just here in California, probably about 4,200 Californians will pass away from pancreatic cancer. And just to get a visual of that, if you can think of a sold-out Giants game in San Francisco, you have an idea of what that number looks like. While the overall cancer incidence and death rate are declining, the incidence and death rate for pancreatic cancer are increasing. It's expected to move past colorectal cancer to become the second leading cause of cancer-related death by 2020. So you may wonder why. Why is this? Well, it's very aggressive, and there are no early detection methods that we have. Because the pancreas is located deep within the abdomen, and because it can progress very quickly from stage 1 to where it's localized in the pancreas to stage 4 where there are metastases in an average of 1 year and 3 months, it's critical to develop early detection tools. At this time, there are no proven biomarkers or clues detectable in the blood or other bodily fluids that can indicate the presence of pancreatic cancer. The vast majority of cancer cases are diagnosed in late stage. More than half are diagnosed once the disease has metastasized, and only 9% of cases are diagnosed when the disease can still be confined within the pancreas. The symptoms are very vague, and they can often be attributed to something else that is not so significant. And they include back pain, abdominal pain, weight loss, jaundice, loss of appetite, nausea, diabetes, and changes in stool. But these are so subtle, and you can imagine someone with a backache, a persistent backache, going to a doctor. The doctor says, well, you know, you probably have a disc issue, or maybe you pulled a muscle. And very often that kind of thing goes on, and months pass before the actual diagnosis takes place. The cause of the majority of pancreatic cancer is also unknown. There are a few risk factors such as familial history and smoking and obesity, but we need much more research to understand the direct relationship of these to the disease. Also, the vast majority of pancreatic cancer cases are diagnosed in late stage, and the treatment options are extremely limited, and patients are undertreated. While surgery, often the Whipple procedure, offers the best chance for survival, fewer than 20% of pancreatic cancer patients are diagnosed early enough for surgical intervention. And even with surgery, the disease recurs in approximately 80% of these patients, and most die within 5 years of recurrence. For non-surgical candidates, chemotherapy, often with radiation, is typically offered, but is not considered curative. Since 1974, only 4 drugs have been approved by the FDA to treat pancreatic cancer. And while these new treatments and combinations have recently shown to extend the lives of pancreatic cancer patients, the improvement is small, and the vast majority of patients still rapidly succumb to the disease. Many pancreatic cancer patients go untreated or undertreated by standard therapies. In fact, about 38% of patients receive no treatment at all within the first year of diagnosis. Even among patients diagnosed with early stage disease, 27% receive no treatment, and only 47% underwent surgery. Although enrolling in a clinical trial is often the best option for pancreatic cancer patients, only about 4% of patients participate in clinical trials. And while this percentage is within the national average for adult cancer patients, it is not high enough, since the standard of treatment is so limited and the effectiveness is so limited for pancreatic cancer patients. We don't necessarily need a higher number of clinical trials, but we do need better designed clinical trials. Over the past 25 years, only 15% of the agents tested in pancreatic cancer phase 3 clinical trials have resulted in clinically meaningful advances for patients. This is part of the problem. Very often, clinical trials are available only to patients who have been diagnosed but have not had treatment yet. Most of those patients would not be seeking a clinical trial as the first, as their first option. But there is hope. In fact, in February of 2014, the National Cancer Institute released a scientific framework of pancreatic cancer adenocarcinoma, the first report that was required under the Recalcitrant Cancer Research Act. I've gotten really good at being able to say recalcitrant. This critical framework, as well as the scientific framework for small cell lung cancer, released a year later, and others will hopefully follow in these deadly cancers. So I wanted to also say a few things about what we are doing here locally in the Silicon Valley to combat this disease. Locally, we work with the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network, which I'll refer to as PanCan since it's such a tongue twister. And the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network is a nonprofit 501(c) company located in Southern California. There are about 140 employees there, and we have a small office in Washington, D.C. that handle our advocacy efforts. Those staff members direct all of the activities that happen across the country. So everything else that is happening in this country is happening because of volunteers like Georgina and myself and affiliates like ours. So our goal in the pancreatic cancer community is to double the survival by 2020. And locally, as Mike said, we do several events a year. One, our Purple Light, and our Purple Stride that he alluded to. But we also have an affiliate in San Francisco. So right here in the Bay Area, there are 2 affiliates with 2 Purple Light events and 2 Purple Stride events. Now I realize San Mateo isn't too close to San Jose, and most of our meetings are held in closer to San Jose. But our Purple Stride is held in Discovery Meadow, which is right next to the Children's Discovery Museum in downtown San Jose. And each year, communities across the country have tens of thousands of people participating. And we have 50 of these Purple Strides across the country. And they all share this one common goal: to end pancreatic cancer. For participants, it's a journey of hope. The Silicon Valley Purple Stride in 2015 had more than 1,100 supporters. Actually, I'm getting it sort of similar to your color run in terms of number of people who participate and enthusiasm. We have a family-friendly walk and also a timed 5K. And this year, our Purple Stride takes place on the first Saturday of November. There's some little flyers on your tables. It is our 5th anniversary. And so far, the Purple Stride Silicon Valley has raised almost $1 million. So we're pretty proud of that, but we have a long way to go. So an obvious question is, where does the money go that is raised for these by these Purple Strides? Well, one of the main ways is, directions, of course, is our scientific research. So from 2003, we have awarded 123 scientific grants nationwide, totaling more than 28 million. And even though that's a significant number, it's very small compared to what the National Cancer Institute, what their research does. So that is why one of our main focuses under here, in the green box is to cause the National Cancer Institute to have more funding to combat pancreatic cancer. So it's grown, just NCI has grown from 17 million in 1999, the year of the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network founding, to over $1.1 million in 2013. One of our other main focuses is the patient services. I just wanted to mention, it's one of the challenges that we face is we are a national organization, but as you hear, we have no local office. We're not like the American Cancer Society that has an office that you could visit here or in San Francisco or in Oakland. We don't have any of that. And so the monies that we raise for our event go to our national headquarters and are divided among all of the services that PanCan supports. But the service to patient services, the patient services, for those who are diagnosed here, thank you, meet the services of our patients. And so really a lot of the funding that we raise goes to awareness and local patient services. And I want to stop here for a moment now to let Georgina talk a little bit about the patient services.
Well, one of the most important, as you can see, the three goals of PanCan are to advance research, and you can see what we do to help raise money for that. Then the other one is to support patients, how important that is when they get that diagnosis. We have a call-in service, it's called Patient Central, and at our headquarters in Manhattan Beach, there are trained staff members that are ready on the phone to help, to support with so much information to families, to the patient, and to health professionals. And I'll just read quickly some of the resources that they have. They have treatment options, clinical trial information. We have the most updated clinical trial data bank in the United States for pancreatic cancer. Specialist physicians help with diet and nutrition, side effect management, educational seminars, and a survivor and caregiver network to connect the families, the patients, with others that can help support. So this is an invaluable service. When they call, they give their story, and within 48 hours they'll get a packet of written information that fits their situation. If they call again, they'll get the same staff member so that they don't have to repeat their story. There's a Spanish-speaking staff member also available. Three main areas of this service are clinical trials, that information. Without clinical trials, we don't get treatments, as you know, because the researchers need to test whatever they have. So that's a major, major push to get people involved in clinical trials. We also now have a Know Your Tumor way where the PanCan will help the patient to get a molecular profiling of their tumor, meaning what does their tumor actually look like, because tumors are different, so that then we can give them targeted therapy, even though it's limited, but more specialized therapy as to what particular cells their tumor contains. And we have a patient registry where patients and families can give their stories on the internet. There's privacy, but they can choose to have it known, and then researchers can use that information as thousands and thousands of people tell their story, and it can help give direction to our researchers also. So if you know someone, I have some brochures here that can use this service. You can take a brochure and, or, again, they can go on the internet. But please let them know about this service. Very important. Thank you.
Thank you, Georgina. And I'm going to I want to get to the end here because let me just reiterate that we know there's a great deal to be done with this disease, but there's hope. And I'm not the only survivor. And if you are able to join us, and I'd like to extend that invitation for our Purple Stride. You'll see we will honor survivors, and there will be a group of us on the stage, and every year we know that number on the stage of survivors is going to grow. So we appreciate so much your attention today, and please remember us when you hear of someone else who's been diagnosed. And also we are so busy trying to raise awareness. We've distributed our card. Michael knows how to find us. If you have any other suggestions or ideas for us, we are all ears. But thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much. And at this point, we'll take questions, just one question.